Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vaishnaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachayani Nirvi Shesha Sundravadi Bhakti Namo Bhaktivinoda Satsarandeta Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupa Utami Vivaranti. Just some well-known song beginning Holy Vaishnava Thakura by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of the many well-known songs of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I sang it and being to speak on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur today, at least according to the calendar I have. In India today, the Film State celebration anniversary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Somehow or other it's some yesterday or mixed up or something here. But anyway, we should glorify Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur at every millisecond. So, whether or not the tithi, this calculation of tithi seems to be too complex. No one seems to understand it properly anyway. So that's why you have different calendars and different ideas about it. Anyway, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, glorification of him is not dependent on any particular day. So, let us try to meditate on the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur for our own purification. Those lotus feet are certainly amply powerful enough to purify the whole world. Unfortunately, the whole world doesn't know about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. They're not even interested in him. Even if we were to tell them, it would be very difficult. People, they can't understand. What did he do? He didn't climb any mountains. He didn't win any football games. He didn't lead any armies into battle. He didn't head a big business corporation. What did he do? What was so great about him? All people of this world, they can't understand. Once I gave it this book that I compiled about Srila Bhaktivinoda Babaji Maharaj, I gave this to successful young businessmen. And he said, well, what did he do? Last question. Well, what did he do? People said he has to do something. Even people think that you have to build big buildings, temples, then you can be a big family. That's why Prabhupada built it. Because people didn't recognize it. So, well, of course there's more reasons than that, but one reason Prabhupada said, he said himself, is that if I speak, you won't listen. If I build a big temple, then you'll listen. So before Prabhupada went to the West, he was the same Srila Prabhupada. He didn't become any bigger or greater or better. He had full dedication and surrender to Krishna and his spiritual master even before he went. But recognizing the foolishness of people in this world is one of the reasons that he built temples. Otherwise, he could speak. So people say, oh, he's got a big temple, he's very important. Then we should listen to what he has to say. Of course, we build temples also for glorification of the Lord, to show how he should be worshipped. Otherwise, also, we can worship the Lord. You don't have to be what to our vision appears to be big deities. Big deities, small deities. Panchatattva installation had a big celebration. I think that they were already here before. It's not because you have 2-meter high deities that they're anything more important than 5-inch deities. Or even we can worship the Lord. Oh, we become rubbish like a tila. It's not awesome for them. Yeah, I'm looking at this. You have a thin line here and you become like that. It's not. Or we can worship the Lord as His holy name. But people don't understand or appreciate it. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur he can be appreciated by those who have received his gifts, which are of a quality that very few people can appreciate. But he very kindly made it possible. Krishna consciousness is that this could be spread all over the world. He's the pioneer of the preaching of pure Krishna consciousness all over the world, the reviver of the preacher of pure Krishna consciousness in Bengal, and the pioneer of preaching all over the world. The present Krishna conscious movement that is spread all over the world, that his vision is based on his vision, based on his teachings, which of course are not different from the teachings of previous acharyas. But he made the teachings of the previous acharyas available, and he popularized them, by popularized I mean cheaply, but he brought them to the attention of the public, that the teachings of the six Goswamis, what is their value? In his books and by his personal example, he showed what is the value of these teachings. He made the teachings of the six Goswamis available in a simplified form, that means in simple Bengali. He mostly wrote in Bengali. He also wrote in Sanskrit. He made that available, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura took that up. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, everything he did was simply to fulfill the desire and under the guidance and the direction of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And of course our own Srila Prabhupada, everything he did was to fulfill the desire and under the guidance and direction of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So there's no difference. It's the same thing. Just here down the road, near the very place, that park that Gurudas Prabhu was walking with Prabhupada once and speaking of the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Prabhupada, in his humility, said, well, I am nothing. He was comparing Prabhupada to our writing. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura, I am nothing compared to Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Of course, they're all of the same category. They're all Gaura Nidyajan, they're all personal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who come to this world to pick us up. We're so lowly and fallen. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he made a bridge that we can cross from a horribly fallen state to the highest level of Krishna Bhakti. Which Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as great Acharya of the world, made this Jagat Guru, made this possible. Jagat Guru, this term, generally we think Jagat Guru, this term should be some great sannyasi. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not a sannyasi. But in his household alone, he did so much for establishing what are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's actual teachings. First of all, what they are, what is their value, distinguishing them from the actual teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of the six Goswamis, from all the terrible misconceptions and misrepresentations that were prominent at that time. So he made it available. He wrote so many books, and he personally established preaching among all different classes of people. Of course, in modern England, this idea of different classes of people is not very intelligent, because it's all one class, low class. Means from the cultural point of view. Everyone is not even in any class, below any class. But at that time, especially in India, it was very much stratified society. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura is very much in the spirit of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, made that available on different levels. He personally moved among the elite of intellectual aristocratic society, and also went among the simple village people, and he wrote very scholarly books for the very scholarly people, and he wrote very simple songs for very simple people. Of course, his simple songs are so profound and deep that even great, highly learned scholars cannot, by their scholarship alone, they cannot even begin to approach the profundity of his teachings in his songs. His songs alone, tremendous, whatever is available of them now, maybe that they're not all available now. Definitely some of his writings are missing. But his songs alone are in themselves a complete theology, complete delineation of the absolute truth, Sambandha, Adideya, Prayoja, everything is there in his songs alone. So, tremendous contribution. And another major contribution was that through him, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared in this world. He had done nothing else but write his songs. If he had done nothing else but write his Chaitanya Shikamrita, if he had done nothing else but write his Tattva-Vivek Vivek, or nothing else but bring into this world Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, any one of these would in themselves be sufficient to establish him as a great devotee. Of course, when we speak like this, it sounds like it's some sort of career positioning or some such thing, but in his songs he has presented what is the mood of pure devotional service. We're here to serve in the greatest humility, even not to think that we're capable of serving, but just like we're singing this song, I'm not capable, I can't serve. But Yoga de Vichari, Kichuna Hitai, Tomara Koranashaya, I have no qualification, but by your mercy, praying to Vaishnava Guru, it's possible that I can also contribute a little service. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Jagat Guru. He's fit to be the Guru of the whole world. He's given teachings that can tremendously help the whole world to take to Krishna consciousness. His vision gradually unfolded and is unfolding through the agency of Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru means who is both in Achar and Prachar. Achar kare keva na karo prachar, prachar kare keva na kare achar. Achar prachar na karo hatui kaj, tumi sarva guru tumi jagat arj. Sanatana Goswami called Haridas Thakur. Some people, they follow the principles of devotional service, but they don't preach. And some preach, but they don't follow what they're preaching about. But you who do both, therefore you are the Guru of your Guru of all. You're the most, should be the most respected person in the world. So like that, we see some who's following all the principles of devotional service but doesn't preach, is also preaching by the example of pure devotion that he shows, that he's actually on that level. Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, his preaching is his example of complete disinterest in anything not connected to Krishna, complete intense bhajan, But those who think that, well, I have to look after myself, I have to do my own bhajan, and never mind about preaching, but that imitated Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was also preaching, imitating Gaura Swami Maharaj. Then that isn't, this is what is not recommended here, that they're doing some bhakti, but they don't care for preaching. But then bhakti, what is the bhakti? If they don't care to follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's orders to preach Krishna consciousness, just for their own benefit, there's a kind of selfishness. They want to, I'll look after myself and never mind about others. So, this way they want to go away from others, but that's not Chaitanya. Even they say, I want to follow just by myself, but that's not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching. Even if you want to do your own bhajan, one has to associate with and take guidance from devotees. So that's one kind of trying to be a devotee without very strictly following devotional principles, but not even follow, actually. And there's others who preach, but they don't follow. They preach for name or fame or money, or they're so busy doing their so-called preaching, they don't have time for chanting Hare Krishna or following even the basic principles. What's the use of such preaching? So either way, supposedly following without preaching, or supposedly preaching without following, neither is proper Vaishnavism. So those who do both, then they set the example, they then are empowered by Krishna. Krishna Shakti Vidana Hitas Bhava. Kali Kali Juga Dharma Nama Shankitan Krishna Shakti Vidana Hitas Bhava. In this age of Kali, the Yuga Dharma, the process for worshipping the Lord, is by Krishna Sankirtan. And who is empowered by Krishna gets the power of attorney to do that, to spread that. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was such an empowered Vaishnava. While in household, a good example for all households, he did so much for fulfilling Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. He wrote so many books. We know him mostly nowadays, but the contribution of his books, the quality of his writing, it's very clear that even from us with dusty, cloudy consciousness, it's very clear that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a person who is in contact with Krishna. He's experiencing Krishna. He's come to this world, as I said, to make a bridge. He himself is in contact with Krishna, but he very kindly apparently comes down to our level to show us how to go on. He sings, Amar Jivan Shada Kamara Nahika Punya Rich. Sada Kapura. In my life, I'm just simply attached to sinful activities. There's not even a trace of pious activity. There's so many songs, he sings like that. But he's showing us the way. Gopina, Ananivedanasham, Vishoyi Durjan, Shada Kamara, Kichu Nahi Morapu. Or Gopina, who will call out to Krishna as Gopina? Only one who is in very loving relationship, but he's calling out, please listen to my plea. I'm a fallen rascal, simply interested in sense gratification, always lusty. And no qualities whatsoever. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by saying this, not that he's hypocritical or he feels out of the great humility of a Paramahamsa Vaishnava. He's feeling himself most fallen. He's actually feeling himself most fallen. Sometimes we think, I'm the most fallen. No, I'm the most fallen. No, I'm the most fallen. I'm more fallen. I'm more fallen. Once the devotee asked the Prabhupada, I said, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. Prabhupada said, I'm the most innocent. I just didn't feel it. Bhaktivinoda Thakura, actually feeling I'm most fallen. But at the same time, by penning these songs, he was giving us, who are actually in that situation, teaching us how to pray. We don't even know how to pray. We don't know how we should express our situation. But he's given us the means to do so. He's given us the words that we should speak, but we don't speak because we have no feeling. So he teaches us, just like the child, the parent takes their hands and moves their hands. This is how you form A, B, C. And he's doing like that, teaching. So he's feeling, I'm most fallen, I have no hope but you, Krishna. Teaching us how to pray. But then he's saying about himself, I am the most fallen. But he also reveals another side of his experience, or his actual identity. He's not a fallen soul. We should never think like that. He also, in so many places, Amrita Shananda Shukadavashi, Radhika Madhava Charata. I'm residing here in Godrum, Swananda Shukadavashi. And people see Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Kedarnath Babu, he's staying there, he's become a Vaishnava. People will think he was a magistrate, now he's retired and he's become a Vaishnava. They would think like that. But he doesn't see himself, he sees himself. I'm living here, this Godrum is no different from Vrindavan, and he sees himself as the mate of Radha Madhava. So many times. Radha Madhava, Kunjari, all our Radha Madhava, Prabhupada gave us this to sing. Jaya Jaya Gaura Chandra Arati Koshova. So much he gave us from Bhaktivinoda. Bhaktivinoda Jake Gaura Rashampan. Seeing the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the eyes of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, actually see. We are singing Arati Karena Janma Adi Deva Bhaktivinoda Thakur is seeing the great happiness. He's shown what is bhakti, what is the path for us miserable, wretched, trying to squeeze out the nasty sense gratification. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is experiencing Bhaktivinoda, the bliss of bhakti. So his songs, so many songs, they express them. He expresses the happiness he perceives, and that he's offering us also that you can take part in this. Krishna Bhajane Jaha Anuku Bhaktivinoda Krishna Bhajane Anuku Bhajaha Pratiti Vashe Parama Sukhe Shikara Kariyata. He says Bhaktivinoda in Krishna Bhajan, in the worship of Krishna, everything I find that is favorable for me, and in the song previously that we described so many things. Association, serving devotees, serving Tulsi, serving Ekadashi, serving the holy places visited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, taking part in the kirtan, taking Krishna Prasad and worshipping the deity. All these items which nourish the Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotional service, Bhakti Lata, all these, every day I perform these activities with great happiness. Bhakti Lata finds great happiness in performing these activities. He's showing us how to be happy. Showing means, for him it's not that he's playing a part, but for him it's his natural propensity to be always happy in Krishna consciousness. From the external viewpoint, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life seems to be very troublesome and difficult life. He had to struggle in so many ways. His first wife died. He had so much sickness. He had to struggle to get established in society with his government worker and his rules here and there, and different things. He had to deal with so many difficult people, struggling. It's very difficult, but his inner life was one of supreme bliss that he communicated with. He left his priceless treasure of his writings, in which he reveals the whole spiritual world. But people don't know. People are unfortunate. They come to London, go somewhere else, looking here and there. Where is some happiness? They don't know what is Bhaktivinoda. Even so many of his so-called followers, they couldn't understand what is Bhaktivinoda. They misunderstood. They took him to be some kind of Sahaja. They misunderstood. Or they misunderstood so many ways. So after Bhaktivinoda, just like after Rupa Goswami came Jiva Goswami. Rupa Goswami wrote so many wonderful works describing pastimes of Radha and Krishna. He also wrote philosophical works. But Jiva Goswami came after and gave the philosophical establishment of what Rupa Goswami has given. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote various books describing him. He showed that what is our goal. He described himself as Kamala Manjari, young girl Gopi. He pointed the way to them. So many people, they misunderstood him. But Bhakti Siddhanta, Bhakti Thakur, came and established what is Bhaktivinoda, what is Bhaktivinoda Vani, what are the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He wasn't presenting simply a more moral form of the misunderstandings of Bhakti that has been presented previously. But he is Rupa Anuga Bhara, Namo Bhaktivinodaya, Sachidanandanamine, Gaura Shakti Surupaya, Rupa Anuga Bharaya. Namo Bhakti Sachidananda, his name is Sachidananda Bhaktivinod. Gaura Shakti Surup, he is the very form of the energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everything he does, everything he writes, all his thoughts, his emotions, everything is filled with the energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he is the best of the followers of Rupa Goswami. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he showed that Bhaktivinoda and Bhaktisiddhanta, they are inseparable. There's no Bhaktivinoda without Bhaktisiddhanta, and vice versa. Bhaktisiddhanta must lead to Bhaktivinoda. the proper understanding of what is devotional service must lead to the bliss of bhakti. And there's no bliss of bhakti without understanding what is actual devotional service. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he lived everything he did, so much work he did. So busy writing books, bringing out magazines, preaching for hours on end, traveling here and there, making disciples, making new nuts. He was so busy in this world simply to fulfill the order of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Simply to please Bhaktivinoda to his two gurus, Bhaktivinoda Thakura and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Everything he did was for that purpose. He never thought of Bhaktivinoda Thakura as my father. He never said my father. He never saw like that. He always saw that this is Paramahamsa, Mahabhagavad, Mahapurush. He's not an ordinary person. He understood always that this is great Paramahamsa. He followed him like this. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, everything he did was to glorify Bhaktivinoda Thakur and to transmit his teachings, to amplify, clarify, and transmit his teachings to the world. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur labored tirelessly, ceaselessly, and that was taken up, the same work, by our own Srila Prabhupada, who understood the desire and the mission of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Very, very dear to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because he understood what is his mission. What does he want me to do? What does he want? Why is my Guru Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Why is he doing all? Why is he making a mission, traveling here and there, making disciples? What is the purpose? He could understand it. So he brought the teachings of Lord Krishna, of all the Acharyas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He brought that to the world. Bhaktivinoda Thakur should be glorified, but people, it's so unfortunate, they can't understand. People, they don't know what is the value of Prabhupada. In India, people, they know little, they think he taught it. He's very good, he taught Bhakti. They don't know what Bhakti is. It's very good. They're all, he made the Westerners vegetarian. Very good. Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself gave the example, by biblical example of putting pearls before the Swami. Those who are favored by his mercy and seriously cultivate his teachings, they can begin to understand what is the greatest. Even one song of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, take any of his songs, and that contribution alone is enough to, he should be glorified ceaselessly by everyone. But we are unfortunate. We don't know what great treasure he had, and he distributed them. People are unfortunate. They don't take, even in Bengal, where you think there at least, as most of his teachings are written in what appears to be Bengali. So it's not the Bengali of it's not shoulder station Bengali or writers building Bengali or Amrit Bazar Patrika Bengali or none of this thing. This is the Bengali of the Gauriya Acharya. So at least the Bengali should appreciate, but they're so unfortunate. Our Vivekananda, and they don't know who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They heard the name, they don't know who is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So much education is required. Education not necessarily academic. Bhakti cannot be had simply by writing tests. One can actually enter into the spirit of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and be favored by His mercy. And He has made that available. That His writings, very systematic writings, he wrote in so many, so many genres, so many styles or types to make the message of Bhakti available. I was saying, he wrote for scholars, he wrote very simply, he wrote in the medium of vowel songs, which are popular among the uneducated people. He wrote very systematically, something almost like a religious scholar. He presented in Chaitanya Shikamrita. He presented very systematically, progressive, developed what are the different kinds of religious understanding, and very systematically presented how the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are the highest theological contribution. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur wanted that these two books, both the Chaitanya Shikamrita and Jai Bhagavad, two books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they should be translated in various languages and distributed widely, especially for the intellectuals of the world to understand what is Krishna consciousness. Like this Jaiva Dharma, it's in novel form. So appealing to people at that time, the novel was under the influence of English literature in Bengali. The novel was beginning to become a popular medium. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a devotional novel in which the message is not really much of a plot, but just some characters, some description to give some interest to people to read. Magazines, Bhajana Koshan magazine. There's floating magazines, writing for magazines. He was trying to appeal to all. He wrote in different styles, different classes of people, but especially targeting the intellectual class of people. And that great service, largely due to the contribution of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, at least this much, the people of Bengal, the intellectuals of Bengal were disabused of the misconception that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching simply some vulgar, or some excuse for vulgar sexual indulgence. So that, to a large extent, that was true to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He discovered Mayapur Dham. Practically. It was not known. Navadvip Dham. What is the value of Navadvip Dham? What are all the important places? What is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? We say, Gauravi Bhava Bhumi Sam Nirdesha Sajjana Priya Vaishnav Sarva Bhumasya Jagannath Ayatena. The Nirdesha, when you said, it's here, that was Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Practically, the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was rediscovered by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And in so many important places, in Navadvip Dham. By archaeological research, but more so by revelation, he revealed. Of course you can say, well, that's just his imagination. Well, that's it. You can believe him or not. That's it. But all mysticism, you could say, in any religious system, revelation must be there. There are persons who are accepted to be on a higher level, who reveal truths about the spiritual world. which those who have faith, they accept. We should be intelligent enough not to accept anyone who walks up and says, I met Krishna on the street and shook hands with him and slapped him on the back. You don't have to accept everyone who says, so many people tell, I saw Krishna, I met Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakura has taught us how to approach Krishna, so we can follow his path. With great humility, with great longing, following the Vaishnavas, accepting their service, following the principles of devotional service, understanding what isn't Krishna consciousness, that's also important. Not only understanding what is. Actually, we can't understand what is actual Krishna consciousness without also understanding what it isn't, because there are so many misrepresentations in the world. Many of them only subtly different. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakura has started the work with a tremendous start. What he has given is unlimited. But as the spiritual world and as Bhakti is unlimited, that means that even though what Bhaktivinoda Thakura gave is unlimited, still it's a start of the work. There's so much more. Gaura Vihita Kirtan. This is a term coined by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Gaura Vihita Kirtan. The Kirtan has to be performed properly according to the desire and direction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur made a tremendous contribution of Gaura Vihita Kirtan and showed us the direction that he established what is the direction that should go. That was tremendously enlarged and developed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And again, that work was again expanded by Srila Prabhupada. And it's our work, our duty to at least preserve what they have given and to give that to the world. So there should be so much glorification of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. People should be aware. Now it's become quite popular in ISKCON. Interfaith dialogue. Isn't Chaitanya Shikamati? Which is not just this is his interfaith dialogue, or Jaiva Dharma. It's not just a matter of meeting and what's your idea, this is my idea. Rather, he's systematically showing what are the levels of religion, where are you? Where does it come? But if anyone reads this, if they're sincere, if they're not just interested in representing themselves as an interfaith representative of a sect, of a sectarian dogma, if they're actually interested to know God as He is, then if they read Chaitanya Shikamata, they have to accept Krishna consciousness. They have to accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift as the unarguably superlative theology. So, will they accept, or do they just want to discuss about God over cups of coffee and whatever? This idea and churn it around in their intellectual soup. And they had a very nice discussion and nothing comes out of it. More hypocrisy. So, if they actually want to know, then they should see. What is this? What are we coming together discussing? This is not the way. God is never found by intellectuals coming together and discussing. He's there. He communicates to us. What is the meaning he communicates? Let us find that out. If we're sincere, He'll show us. So alright, He communicates through Muhammad, He communicates through Jesus. So many, but if we have to know Him in full, Or what is the highest way we can know it? What is the... If people are actually sincere and even intellectually honest, then by studying Chaitanya Shikamrita, they can understand that all their faiths are quite incomplete and insufficient compared to the gifts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let us glorify Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We can do that by acting in the Sankirtan movement as we received it through Srila Prabhupada. Apart from that, there should be specific initiatives to glorify Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he founded the Bhaktivinoda Research Institute. So much work should be done directly to glorify, let people know who is this great person. That's maybe more specialized. So who's got some special mercy of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, maybe take that out and actualize it. Anyone can say. Shri Shri Ram Ram Vishnu Shri Ram Sai Puja Shri Ram Puja Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Puja Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Puja Shri Bhagavad Gita Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any question? Comment? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for a very nice class. I would like to understand what is that.
Do we have any cordless mic? No? Okay. It's small one. Speak loud.
I would like to know how to understand.
Yeah, great. That's it. It's good enough for Oxford Street, it's good enough for Silver Street.
I would like to...
Okay, I'll just speak. I would like to understand whether it is a proper understanding to see that there are two kinds of gurus. One is Nitya Siddha and another is Sadhana Siddha. Or one should always see Guru as Nitya Siddha, or what are the intricacies of seeing Guru in any way?
The Siddha means Nitya Siddha. There's no other kind of Siddha. Technically we may say Kripa Siddha or Sadhana Siddha. But there's only Nitya Siddha. Because Siddha means Siddha. Siddha cannot be Asiddha or imperfect. So we may, and technically we may say, but technically we may say Kripa Siddha, Sadhana Siddha. One who is Siddha means he's on the Nitya platform. He's on the eternal platform. You understand?
Right.
Bhakti yoga vicharina bhakti yoga rasena sagunam samatitham brahma bhuyaya kalpa. One who is on the spiritual platform, he's there with Krishna. So, examples are given of Kripa Siddha. Examples may be given Prahlad Maharaj. I always think Prahlad Maharaj, their stories are there in the Srimad Purana. How he was a lecher who came with his girlfriend and they wanted to enjoy in the forest. Of course here they just do it in public, but there was some kind of culture, so they didn't want to do it in public. So he took his girlfriend and they found an old abandoned temple in the forest, Rishinga temple. They didn't know it was a temple, it's just some convenient place for them to enjoy. So they went there to enjoy, but then he had a tiff with his girlfriend, and then Suppose in out of anger and frustration, he just stayed awake all night without eating. So the benefit of being in the Sringa temple all night and fasting and happened to be in the Sringa Chaturdashi, then because of that he became Prahlad Maharaj. That's stated in the Srimad Purana. So that's given as an example of the benefits of following the Srimad Chaturdashi. But are we to accept that Prahlad Maharaj is just some kind of ordinary conditioned soul? Of course he's an eternal associate of the Lord. But he may appear for some time. Narad Muni, it might appear that he's some maidservant son. By the mercy of the Bhaktivedanta, he became purified. But of course he's necessary. Of course there are different perspectives. Great acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they're certainly on a tremendously high level. Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur has so many highly qualified disciples. But at the same time, his own position is, even among the extraordinary, his position is extraordinary. So maybe we could see like this, instead of thinking, well, this one is higher and this one is lower. And this one is high and this one is high, so much high I can hardly even begin to understand. But this one is something even more extraordinary. But actually in the same category also. In the same category also means that if one is actually connected to Krishna through the parampara, and he gets the mercy from the parampara by his sincere service attitude to deliver what they have given, then those who receive can get the same link as the parampara. So again, many people say, oh, you're so lucky, you're directly the disciple of Prabhupada. But it's something like saying, well, Arjuna, he was more lucky, he heard from Krishna, and others, they're not so lucky. Anyway, what can we do? But through the parampara system, one who receives Bhagavad Gita, they get the same benefit as Arjuna received. So one can become siddha, one connects with the Nitya Siddha Parampara if one is prepared to do so. One is prepared to do so. Yeah.
What else can we do to purify ourselves?
What can we do to purify ourselves? Not much. So we can beg for the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Tumi kripa kari shraddha bindu diya deha Krishna namadhami. We should beg for the mercy of the Vaishnavas. We can follow the system given by the acharyas, chanting the holy names, associating with devotees, following basic sadhana. But the magic that brings it all to life is the prayerful mood by which invokes the mercy of the Vaishnavas. We are completely dependent on the mercy of the Vaishnavas. But at the same time, we can open our hearts to receive that mercy by following their instructions and sincerely praying for their mercy. So we can rise early in the morning, attend the sadhana program, study Srila Prabhupada's books. These are the things we should do. This is what they have told us to do. This brings us in contact with Krishna, hearing and chanting about Krishna. Do you read Srila Prabhupada's books? Yeah.
I read Gita.
Do you read Srila Prabhupada's books? Is that an Indian yes or British no?
Not to read more.
Do you have the Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is?
Yeah.
Do you have this book?
Yes.
You have this book. Do you read it? Alright, so please read this daily. And take Srimad Bhagavatam also. You know what that is, the Srimad Bhagavatam? What Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita is elaborated upon in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. The thing is, this is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. So there are many people who are presenting Gita, but people don't get bhakti from reading it. Because they're not representing Krishna as Krishna is speaking himself. Krishna gives his instructions, Savadhanan Parityajya, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. But instead of becoming Krishna Sharan, they don't have faith in Krishna. So you please study Bhagavad Gita as it is. Don't be a good Hindu. That may seem like a strange instruction. But be a surrendered devotee to Krishna. We have to understand Gita through the parampara. This is why today we're talking about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Whatever is in the Gita, by his example, by his teaching, he's made that available to you. Otherwise, by studying, by reciting, you may get some punya, which can take you to Swarga. But you know, in Gita, Krishna also says, Teitam Bhukva Swarga Lokam Vishalam Kshine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. The punya you get for going to Swarga, when it's finished, you have to come back down here. What's the use? Teaching of Gita is to take us beyond this material world to go lower to Krishna's lotus feet. But most people who comment on the Gita, even big pundits and big Swamis, they don't actually understand it. They have a materialistic or intellectual outlook. So if you actually want to become purified, please come here and associate with the devotees. Purified, even what do you mean by purified? Many people think purified, I'm a vegetarian. And the Jains think we're better vegetarians because we don't take food from under the... I was just speaking to a Jain today. He said, we're Jains, we're better vegetarians, we don't take things from under the ground. And I said, we're going on the plane, right? And where does the fuel from that come? You're digging under the ground. So, how are you going to avoid that? So, I told you, the monkeys are also vegetarians. So, simply becoming a vegetarian doesn't qualify you as a spiritualist. Not being a vegetarian, that's also not good. But the point is that sadhana and punya karma, that is a long way from Shuddha Krishna Bhakti. There's a lot more to it. So please try to understand. That understanding that comes first of all by hearing from those who understand. You may think, what will I understand here? These people are all Westerners, they can't even pronounce the Sanskrit properly. And, they don't know the proper sadhana, but they're imbibing the essence, which is Sharanagata Yukta Shuddha Bhakti. First comes Sharanagati, and that Sharanagati, or the full surrender to Krishna, that is the basis of Shuddha Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. There are many things to be discussed. You please come here, study Prabhupada's books. If you can have the humility to understand that I have something to learn here, then you can begin to learn. Then purification will come. Please, you want to say? Someone else is going to say something?
Yeah, what I found interesting is in our sampradaya, how we see that the powerful personality like Srila Prabhupada, behind that there's even more, seemingly even more great personalities like the Guru. Or like you mentioned in the lecture that there is behind it.
Okay.
And behind it.
Get it.
And behind Shiva Goswami we have the Sanatana Swami. So in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's case, it seems that he's so self-effulgent.
Yeah, it seems like that, doesn't it? He's always prayed for the mercy of the Vaishnavas. But yeah, that's interesting. He was unique in that sense. He re-established the Sampradaya of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu practically. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave what Rupa and Sanatan they preserved or they expressed in their writings. And then Jiva Goswami, he systemized those teachings and what is the word? Substantiated or so he defended these. He showed he gave the systematic philosophical basis for that. And then that was developed. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, his monumental contribution of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah, of course Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, also tremendous contributions. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he came there was an age of darkness of the Gauriya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So, himself and Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur both were pioneers. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he kind of brought it out of the box, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur very forcefully preached that. And even more than Bhaktivinoda Thakur, very forcefully. He carried on the work, but in a very powerful and more developed way. Even though everything Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave was perfect, but even Bhaktivinoda Thakur developed that more. And our own Srila Prabhupada, he represented himself more as a peon, a transmitter of that which is already given. But how he did that, how he brought the teachings of the Acharyas and made it available to the Western world is, again, who is appreciating? Even among Vaishnavas in Bengal and Gauriya Math, even though they'll offer respect to Prabhupada, but I don't think they understand. We don't understand. No one can fully understand what Prabhupada has done, because some of them are coming to the West now, and the field's already developed, and they're starting to preach something. They don't realize what struggle Prabhupada went through. And even the present generation of devotees, they also don't know what struggle Prabhupada's disciples went through, because in those days, we were beleaguered practically. I mean, it happened. I mean, I was arrested so many times here in Central India for the crime of distributing Prabhupada's books, and it was a constant battle. So at one time we came out to do Harinam, one very place, and the police just came and arrested us right there, even before they just came out of the building. Just threw us all in there. Black Mariah, they still have that called the Ford Transit, black van, open van, throw you in, take us all down. So it was really a struggle. People were very suspicious of us. It's a lot of struggle. Just established centers all over the world. In India, a lot of struggle. So what else? You want to know?
Yeah, there are
Please get the
Swamiji, there are the 10 incarnations for Lord Vishnu.
10 prominent, there are limited, but there are 10 well-known.
23 incarnations. In that time, why is it restricted only for India as an Hindu? It is not known by some other...
No, it's known now in different parts of the world, but in all the universe, that land, Bharat, is that land which is particularly meant for those who are ready or prepared to receive the message of Krishna in his various avatars. Keshavadrita, yesterday was Ramana Day. It was the Keshavadrita Vamana Rupa, Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa, Keshavadrita Rama Sharira. So there are different forms of Krishna, and traditionally many people who take birth in India, they're sent there so that they're ready to receive that message and take it. Therefore the Lord comes where he can be better received, and where there's need. Now he's all over the world. Anyway, he's worshipped in different planets, not only in India. You should take a better opportunity. Hare Krishna.